I'm not really that gassed up on Green Bay.
This is such a young offense, right? Like, it's really crazy when you think about it.
So much of what we saw charted from Aaron Rodgers was touchdown or check down, is what he said. A beautiful line. I love that line. You know what's funny? We got a brand new quarterback. It's the exact same thing. We're talking about a Hall of Fame quarterback, and we're talking about a guy who's barely played. And they're doing pretty much the exact same thing.
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
Maybe the greatest catch I've ever seen.
Get a temperature check here on Green Bay. Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur. Where are we on these guys right now? Because I tell you what, after 2 weeks in the season, my mentions were absolutely a minefield. People tell me I'm an idiot. I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah, interesting. 7 weeks in now. I don't really seem to be getting a lot of Green Bay mentions, so it's interesting. How the tides have shifted and changed, my friend. But Matt Harmon, I want to get your take here. Temperature check on Green Bay and Jordan Love.
I think that Jordan Love and the Packers perfectly sum up what I think is one of the stories of the season so far this year. And Andy Behrens and I just had this conversation on the Yahoo podcast, so it's kind of fresh in mind. And I'll spin this in a bit of a different way than I did there. But the whole point is that I think quarterback play league-wide is way down. Obviously, I think with Rodgers not playing this year, even though he is on a roster, it's like officially the old guard is gone. You know, Ben Roethlisberger's gone. Tom Brady's gone. Aaron Rodgers is not playing this year.
Even guys like Matt Ryan or Philip Rivers
right.
or whatever, guys that were, making a lot of checks at the line and really quarterbacking it up,
Yep, Rivers, Ryan, that old guard is gone, and I think we had guys from kind of that like 2018 to 2020 class really step up. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, who we just talked about, Joe Burrow, who is obviously one of we know who Joe Burrow is, good player. Tua is established himself, I think, as a quality starting quarterback. And even obviously Mahomes in 2017, the year before that, like there's been plenty of guys have kind of taken the next mantle there to be that next group of quarterbacks. But
right.
you can put Jalen Hurts in this bucket as well, by the way. A lot of those guys I just rattled off there, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, they're not having their best seasons right now, or they've had like some stretches of pretty poor games. And I think when those guys aren't performing at the height of their powers, the lack of the next group,
there's no
middle class. And it is because no one has stepped up in drafts after 2020. I mean, the best players, like Trevor Lawrence, obviously Zach Wilson busted out. Justin Fields probably busted out. Trey Lance busted out,
Oh my God, yeah.
The 2022 class. Mac Jones busted out, most likely, although they just beat the Bills, right? But I still think, by and large, busted out. And then we know the 22 class was a disaster for quarterbacks, right? Kenny Pickett was the only guy taken in the first round, and he's not looking so great so far. And then you've got a lot of these teams running out like project players. You've got your Sam Howells not working out. You've got your Desmond Ritters not working out. So it's really up to like CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson, who's not going to play the rest of this year. So he'll be a question mark. Bryce Young, I think, is a question mark at this point. There's just a real lack of like NFL middle-class quarterbacks. And Jordan Love isn't like a perfect example of this because we're just now finally seeing him play in 2020. So I'm kind of more so grouping him in with that group that we just mentioned, as opposed to the guys like Herbert and, the other guys that were taken in 2020. But him not stepping up, I think, is akin to like a league-wide problem at this point.
Jordan Love leads the NFL right now in first read percentage, right? So 77.1% of his throws are on that first read. That, to me, does not indicate progression of reads, right? And I think that is just from a statistical standpoint also translates to a visual standpoint as well. Is he coming off of his first read? Generally not. Generally not. And maybe there's a separation issue, but I think what we've seen from high quality quarterbacks is that they're going to come off that first read if it's not there. Right. And I don't think I definitely don't think Jordan Love has really done that. He also is near the top of the league in terms of ADOT. So not only is he going to his first read a lot, he's got a 9.4 ADOT right now. It is, third highest in the NFL. So a lot of his first reads are just bombs, right? So it's not a good combination of what we got. And this, again, goes back to what I was talking about in regards to this Matt LaFleur offense. So much of what we saw charted from Aaron Rodgers, Derek Classen charted from Aaron Rodgers, was touchdown or check down, is what he said. A beautiful line. I love that line. And you know what's funny? We got a brand new quarterback. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
A lot of it is touchdown or check down. A lot of it is just either we're going to throw that screen, we're going to throw short underneath little dump off passes, or we're going in big over the top. It's just, look, man, I mean, at some point now we're talking about a Hall of Fame quarterback, and we're talking about a guy who's barely played, and they're doing pretty much the exact same thing. So I'm just saying some of this has to fall on LaFleur, the offense, the play calling, and all those kind of things. I'm not really that gassed up on Green Bay. As we know, I came in pretty low on Green Bay. I think, overall, I would say more low than most experts, I would say, in regards to Green Bay's offense coming in. I just want to pick your brain, Matt, in terms of what do these guys got to do to turn this thing around, man?
They got to grow up. This is such a young offense, right? Like, it's really crazy when you think about it. They're dropping Jordan Love into this offense where Christian Watson, second-year receiver, Romeo Doubs, second-year receiver, Luke Musgrave, rookie tight end, Jaden Reed, rookie receiver, Dontavian Wicks, rookie receiver, and he's played a ton for them. Aaron Jones is like their only veteran player that's had a ton of experience, who's an above-average starter, and he's been on and off the field. And it's like, it's weird that it feels as if Matt LaFleur and this offense recognizes and understands and even communicates that, like, Aaron Jones is so critical to what they do as a team. And they like barely brought him back this year, made him take a pay cut. I will say, from Jordan Love's perspective, like, who is his dude on this offense right now? Because
he wants it to be Romeo Doubs, I think. And I think you've really highlighted the fact that he's just, Doubs is not that guy.
Doubs is fine. Romeo Doubs is fine, but he is like an acceptable number 3, maybe like passable number 2 in a pinch in the NFL.
Right.
And he's still a second-year guy. He's still a super young player who you drafted on the 3rd day of the NFL draft last year. And then, like, Christian Watson is just like, we haven't seen anything from Christian Watson, and he's another guy who can't consistently stay on the field. But, like, we haven't seen anything from Christian Watson to think, like, this is a guy that, all right, Jordan Love knows, like, I'm in a pinch, I'm in a tough spot, it's 3rd down, and I'm under pressure, like, I'm just getting the ball to Christian Watson. He's not that guy. Christian Watson's production last year, like his yards per out run and like stuff like that, was inflated because he played with the Hall of Fame quarterback who was a declining player, not playing his best football, but, like, Rodgers still in Rodgers' head is like, I'm Aaron Rodgers. All right. Like, I can needle this thing to Christian Watson down the field. If you look at the gap between, like, Jordan Love's, maybe not so much right now, but even when he was producing well in the start of the season, his, like, EPA per play was really high, but his success rate was really low, which shows that, like, the flashes of big playability are there, which is why your mentions were getting lit up. But the consistency and the sustainability of the offense, especially in the first half of games, it's not been there. And, like, you can't be all that surprised with how young this team is.
Yeah, I think the other thing about Jordan Love too is that, especially early on, so much of what he was doing, look, man, there were so many turnover-worthy throws that he threw that somehow, some way, call it the Green Bay way, I don't know what it was. I mean, interceptions are turning into touchdowns. I mean, we saw that this week as well. He threw 2 balls that, my God, I mean, one could have been picked, one should have been picked. And really, if you listen to the broadcast team, the official on site thought it was an interception that got ruled a touchdown. I actually think that the data could be a lot worse than it is. Because of some of these big plays that have swung in his favor in Jordan Love's play. And listen, can I just be clear? I actually think that Jordan Love's a good player. I actually think that Jordan Love has the tools. I actually think that Love can be a high-level starter in this league. I've seen enough from a tools perspective to say that. But I just wonder, again, when I go back to first read percentage, the guy's leading the NFL, 77% first read targets. Bro, that's too high. That's too high.
Yeah.
Right. But that being said, again, he's also getting acclimated. I know he's been, doing some practice and all those things. Is, I don't know how many years he's been in the league now, but this is really his first real, season as a starter. So I think there's room for growth. I'm not actually casting off Jordan Love as a bust. Not doing that. I actually think he's got the tools. But again, he needs to be coached up.